This is the story of David Hahn, the teen who built a nuclear reactor in his backyard. In 1994, authorities in Michigan made an alarming discovery. A 17-year-old Boy Scout named David Hahn had turned his mother's backyard shed into a makeshift nuclear laboratory. What began as a science project had escalated into something far more dangerous, requiring federal intervention. This is the true story of how one teenager's extraordinary scientific ambition nearly created an environmental disaster. Right from the beginning, David displayed an exceptional aptitude for science. While most teenagers focused on school and social activities, David spent his free time conducting increasingly complex chemistry experiments. His fascination with radioactivity began when his grandfather gave him a copy of the Golden Book of Chemistry Experiments, of which David immediately became obsessed with. By his mid-teens, David's experiments grew more sophisticated. He began writing to government agencies and nuclear experts, pretending to be a high school physics teacher to obtain technical information. When trying to obtain radioactive materials, David initially contacted professors seeking technical advice and help in acquiring the materials, as well as universities, hospitals, and nuclear agencies. However, when these sources proved insufficient, he resorted to obtaining materials himself. David's ultimate goal was to create a breeder reactor, a device that produces more nuclear fuel than it consumes. He systematically collected radioactive materials from common household items, such as americium-241, extracted from smoke detectors, thorium, collected from camping lantern mantles, radium, scraped from antique glow-in-the-dark clock dials, and tritium, of which he obtained from gun sights. In his backyard shed, David assembled these materials into a crude reactor core. He used a bored-out block of lead as a shield for his homemade reactor, which he built in his mother's potting shed, and created a neutron source by combining americium with beryllium. His design, while theoretically sound in principle, lacked essential safety measures. How did it work, you ask? David's reactor design worked by shooting neutrons at thorium-232, turning it into uranium-233, a material that can be used for nuclear reactions. His setup wasn't powerful enough to create a full-blown chain reaction, but it was still producing enough radioactive material to seriously damage one's health when exposed for too long. What David failed to appreciate were the radiation hazards. His shed became severely contaminated, with some areas measuring radiation levels 1,000 times above normal background radiation. He frequently handled radioactive materials without protection and even stored them in his mother's refrigerator. The situation came to light in August 1994 when police, investigating suspicious activity, searched David's car and found equipment they initially suspected might be for drug production. Radiation experts were quickly called in after Hahn notified the officers of its radioactivity. The Environmental Protection Agency's response was immediate and extensive. The shed was found to be highly contaminated, as well as finding the radiation levels in surrounding areas abnormally elevated. Scarily, David's clothing and personal belongings showed significant contamination. The EPA declared the site a Superfund cleanup area. Workers in full protective gear dismantled and removed the entire shed, excavated the contaminated soil, packaged all the radioactive waste into special containers, and transported everything to a radioactive waste facility in Utah. Unsurprisingly, David faced charges. In 2007, he was charged with larceny in Michigan for stealing smoke detectors. He pleaded guilty to attempted larceny of a building and received a 90-day jail sentence. In 1997, he joined the U.S. Navy, ironically serving his time on a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, though they initially had no idea about his past. David's later years were marked by personal struggles, including troubles with alcoholism. Sadly, he passed away in 2016, at age 39, from an accidental overdose. David's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a case study in nuclear safety. Today, Nuclear safety experts use David's story to illustrate the very real risks of radiation exposure and the importance of proper material control. While his scientific curiosity was impressive, his lack of proper safety precautions endangered himself and his entire neighborhood. Thank you for watching. If stories like this resonate with you, consider liking or subscribing. See you next time.